I'm Nick. I'm from Texas. Met my good friend JR here at a Big C supermarket. What was that? A month ago? Yeah, we made eye contact because I was buying a 24 pack of beer and you were like, oh, good stuff, good stuff. And I got to talking to you and yeah, it turns out you're from Texas as well, which, as you know, out here is very rare, meeting another guy from Texas. Usually a lot of Englishmen, a lot of Australians, and I love them, of course, but it was always cool to meet somebody who was from the same state. Yeah, man, you're from Dallas, right? Yeah, Dallas. But you lived in Houston for a while, which was pretty cool.
Well, Nick, what in the heck got you into Thailand in the first place?
The thing about me coming to Asia was I was initially a foreign exchange student. I came to Thailand in 2016 for about three months, and I did a foreign exchange in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And when I was there, I was just blown away by the quality of life that you could have. You know, rent was nothing comparatively. Going out cost nothing. I was on a Thai university, so I mean, my jaw was on the floor all the time, meeting these beautiful women. It was something I hadn't really I didn't know existed, you know? But when I came here, it was just it was amazing. So when I was there, and I would go to bars and stuff, I would meet older guys. I met these guys in their 20s and 30s, and they were English teachers. And I was just like, this is something I could do once I finish my my degree when I go back home. So it was always in the back of my head, if it doesn't really work out in America, I can come teach English in Thailand and live a really decent life. And once I finished school and I got a job, I was a wedding caterer. I was one of those busboy guys. Do you want a drink, sir? You know, can I fill you up? You know, with this cocktail or whatever. It was just manual labor. You know, I was moving stuff into a van, out of a van. You know, having to drive all over Austin, Texas. It was just it was hard labor. And I couldn't really find a job in the field I wanted. And in my degree, I'm resource and environmental studies. So that's you know, installing solar panels and stuff that has to do with the energy section of the economy and stuff. But it didn't work out. So I convinced a buddy of mine, another Texan, he's in Thailand right now. And I convinced him to come on over and, you know, teach English with me. So yeah, I went to Thailand in 2018. Yeah.
Well, what in the world made you leave Thailand and come to Vietnam?
So I came to Vietnam about 2 months ago, and this was after 4 years of Thailand. And I came here because honestly, dude, I just wanted to make more money. It was, you know, to really the way the English teaching jobs work there is most of the time you got to go get a salaried position. So you'll be at a school from, you know, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4, and you have to be there all the time, even if you're not really teaching that much. And it's a salary position. You're going to be getting $1,200 at the end of the month. And there's a lot of extra stuff, right? You know, you got to go to dinners with the administration, or you got to do a fundraiser, and you're not getting paid extra for that. And salary shit. It's low. Yeah. So I had a buddy who I've known forever. You know, I met him in Thailand. He's from Czech Republic. Good friend of mine. Yeah. So my buddy, he had some visa troubles a little bit before the pandemic, maybe 2.5 years ago, and he tried entering Thailand again, but they just refused him. So he had to go to Vietnam. I think he was traveling from Europe at the time, so he just bought a ticket to Vietnam, and yeah, he stayed here for 4 or 5 months, and he just was talking about how much more money you could make, and it's all hourly based. So my job, for example, today I'm going to work 7 to 9 at night. Usually on the weekdays it's 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and I'll be making about $20 an hour, right? So you can really stack hours here and you can make way more money. Basically the reason I came to Vietnam was I wanted to make more money. But also I wanted to go explore the world and you know, I want to go experience a new culture. It's not just money. Although money, you know, when you're making an extra $1,000 working less, then you know that's a big plus there.
Well, I imagine there's quite a few differences in the way they teach in Thailand and the way they teach here. Can you fill us in a little on that?
So the differences between the teaching methods, there's there's a lot of them. In Thailand, it's very much like, basically most schools I worked at, you walk into a classroom, there's anywhere from 15 to 40 kids, and there's a whiteboard, and they give you a marker, and you're like, hey, is there any books, maybe a monitor or a projector where I could do something? And you go, no, here, marker, teach English. And I'm like, what do I teach? English. And I'm like, yeah, so the administration, they don't know what the hell they're doing, like, most of the time. And this is my experience of working at about 3 different schools. They just don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't like give you books for the most part. They don't give you any sort of lesson plans, none of that. It's like pretty much do whatever you want, there's pros and cons to that, right? You have no oversight. So if you want, you can just play games all day with them, like, ESL teaching games. But it's also nice to just have like a set lesson where it's like, here's a book, we're gonna go through pages 50 to 52 today, and then we'll play games after. There's none of that in Thailand. Of course, this is just my experience of the 3 schools that I worked at, but I was there 4 years and I talked to a lot of other teachers, and it's pretty much like that. There's a lot more professional schools that, they'll take care of you a little bit better, but on the whole, like, they don't know what they're doing. Here in Vietnam, I was so pleasantly surprised at the professionalism of my company that I'm working for, which is VUS. They assign you like a time to come work, they assign you a book, and they tell you what pages you need to do. You walk into the classroom, air conditioned, it's got like a nice big monitor and a projector, and all the kids have books, and you can just go through it. They got teacher notes, and it's just like, it's heaven, man. I'm getting paid more, and I feel like I'm doing less, and I feel like I'm actually helping the kids understand English more than I was in Thailand, because they're giving me the tools to do it. It's just so black and white compared to what Thailand was. Thailand, it was so just like, in Thailand, it's all about, let's take pictures of the teacher with all the kids and then post on the website, and we're doing stuff, but there's no real meat to like what like the actual education is. So you run into a lot of teachers that are not very professional because they can get away with being slackers and stuff, which I just feel like is doing a dishonor to the kids. But the administration, they don't, in the society on the whole, they don't really seem to give a shit, to be frank. Like, that's one thing about another difference between Thailand and Vietnam. And this is just me speaking of being here for 2 months, and then I did 4 years in Thailand. In Thailand, they're much more inwards looking. They don't really care about what's happening outside Thailand. They really don't. And you kind of, it reflects in their culture and stuff, and just their mindsets. And I gotta say, I love Thai people. I like their culture and everything's fucking beautiful. I want to die in Thailand. Like that is like one of my favorite countries in the world. But they are very inwards looking. There's not a lot of emphasis on learning the English language, because it's not Thai culture. And a lot of that comes from the fact that they were never colonized. Here in Vietnam, they were colonized by the French, and then the Americans came through. So they have a lot more of an outwards kind of outlook on life in the world. When in Thailand, it's very much, it's kind of like Japan in a lot of ways. They don't really care about what's happening outside of their country. So yeah, I'd say those are some big differences between the two.
Since you've been here, I know you've made at least one Western friend, but have you made any Vietnamese friends here?
So obviously I've met you, and I go out with a few Westerners from my job and stuff. When it comes to Vietnamese people, so far I have met people on my street that have been really nice and they speak English and stuff, but I haven't really met any real like Vietnamese people that I go out with and stuff. So I'm working on it. Only been here 2 months.
Well, Nick, do you think the Vietnamese people are going to be as easy to socialize with as the Thai people?
I definitely think that it's going to be a little bit easier to socialize with people here in Saigon, especially because the English comprehension is much better. In Thailand, man, it's very rare that you meet anybody who can speak decent English, and the only ones that can really speak decent English are the younger Thai ladies trying to meet foreigner guys, which is always awesome, obviously. But yeah, I think it'll be easier to meet buddies here once I spend a little bit more time. The English is just, yeah, it's better here, and people in Saigon are very friendly to Westerners.
Well, you know, food is a pretty awesome topic. What do you think's better so far? Have you got a good impression of Vietnamese food, or do you like the Thai food better?
So the food, obviously in Thailand, I was there 4 years. I went all over the country, so I know Thailand, the Thai food pretty well, and I love it, man. Sam tam, like kham wan gai, like all this stuff, man. It's just delicious. The Vietnamese food is also amazing, and I kind of grew up with it back home in Houston, Texas, where I'm from. We have a lot of Vietnamese people, so banh mi's and pho, I grew up with that. I'd have to say Thai food's probably my favorite, though, when it comes to just how cheap it is and how delicious it is. But if we're talking my all-time favorite, it's got to be sushi, man. Like, I've never been to Japan, and obviously in America we got lots of sushi bars and stuff. But yeah, that's that's a little bit more pricey, right?
How about living expenses? How do they compare?
Yeah, this girl is beautiful, man. Jesus.
She is a cutie.
I know, I'm gonna get distracted looking at her. All right.
You remember the question?
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
I thought you might be distracted.
No,
Okay.
not that distracted,
Okay.
but there's distractions. Yeah, so the living expenses compared to Thailand, food's cheaper. Definitely cheaper. Not by much. I mean, if we're talking Western standards, it's like Thailand, something could be $1.50, here it's $1, you know, so it's very comparable. The rent, a little bit more cheaper here, I'd say, depending on what you want, but overall, especially for me, I mean, I love to drink. I like to go out and have some fun. The nightlife's way cheaper here. In Thailand, it's pretty expensive for beer and stuff. Overall, I'd say rent, food, going out, Vietnam's gonna be cheaper for sure.
You're a young single guy. What about dating? Do you think that you're going to enjoy dating the Vietnamese girls, or do you think you'll prefer the Thai girls?
So dating between the two, obviously I lived in Thailand for 4 years. I had a lot of experience with that. In Vietnam, I've only gone out with one girl, and she was lovely, really nice girl. Although I don't know, overall I just love Thai women. They're very open. Not to say Vietnamese aren't, because I haven't had a lot of experience, but the Thais, they're very open about their like sexuality and just if they like you or not. I don't know, from my experience, there's not a whole lot of games. But with Vietnamese, I mean, like I said, I've only been here 2 months. So the one girl that I've been with, it's been very lovely, very nice. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see which ones I prefer. But I mean, I'm still Team Thai because, you know, I was there 4 years. I love those girls. And it helps that I can speak a little Thai language. So here it's like I want to talk to girls, but it's like I don't know how to say what I want to say. And in Thailand, I can say it, right?
Which country do you think has the best tasting beer and great places to go get a cold one?
Well, from my experience, and I've been to about 15 countries so far, it's got to be Czech Republic, man. It was a beer lover's wonderland. Like, everything was cheap, everything was delicious, and obviously the Czech people are just so kind and really nice. I mean, Prague was it was awesome, man. So it's got to be the Czech Republic for me. But of course, you know, good old Texas, you know, we got some good bars as well. But when it comes to the tasty, delicious beer, I mean, Czech was it was amazing, man. It was awesome. So when it comes to Vietnam, the beer here is pretty tasty, and it's, like I said, it's way cheaper than in Thailand. In Thailand, you only got like 3 or 4 beers. You know, they got Chang, Leo, Singha, and they also have Tiger, which I didn't realize it comes from Vietnam. But yeah, beer Saigon, tasty, delicious. Of course, they don't have any like real IPAs, you know, that you can go get at the local grocery store. You can go to bars and find them, but yeah, I'd say Saigon beer is pretty delicious. Ba Ba Ba, you know, 333, it's a good one too. Yeah, and here in Vietnam, it's a good time with the beer. Way better than Thailand in that regard.
You know, I know language is a problem for Vietnam and also for Thailand. Which language do you think is going to be easiest for you to get a handle on?
I mean, for sure Vietnam. I mean, I'm walking around getting food at random little restaurants, hole-in-the-wall places, and they're speaking English to me. In Thailand, man, it's none of that. You know, it's very much that they don't speak English there. Here, it's pretty good. So I should just start off by saying I do obviously speak English. My Thai it's pretty okay for 4 years there. I can speak a little Spanish. I spent some time in Ecuador last year, so that definitely helped. But yeah, In Vietnam, it's the same, right? They got the tonal language. So it's the same in Thai, right? So you could say one word 5 different ways and it has a new meaning. If we're talking about Thai language, it's actually quite simple. Like they'll drop pronouns and stuff, so you don't have to say you or I. It's all about just like the context of the conversation. And they don't use a lot of words like, you know, in English we'll say awesome, great, good. And we have all these like different words that basically mean the same thing. From my experience in Thailand, a lot of times it's just the same word that they use over and over. So it's quite simple, but it's the tone, man. The tone is very difficult to acquire. You know, there's rising tone, falling, and in Vietnam they got the same thing. And I'm hoping that since it is a tonal language like Thai, I'll be able to pick it up okay. But yeah, I mean, obviously Spanish is way easier for me to pick up than all these languages out here, right?
Well, you've only been here 2 months, and I'm sure eventually you plan to go somewhere else. Where do you want to go, and what do you plan to do in the future?
Yeah, so I'm gonna stay in Vietnam 2 years. That's what I've decided. I'm gonna work almost every day, stack my money, save up, and eventually I'd like to maybe go live in Japan or South Korea, or maybe go back to Thailand.
Hey, that's pretty good. I think moving on is always a nice idea. Of course, I have no choice. I've got to move on. I think that Vietnam, though, is an absolutely great place to hang out and drink beer and for you teachers to work.
You know, the way the world is these days, you don't know what's going to happen next. But I don't want to teach forever. I've been looking at a computer programming course because like I said, I don't want to teach forever, and it'd be nice to work from anywhere on my laptop. So that'll be my general plan. But 2 years here. It's been really nice chatting with you. You know, it was really nice to meet you. And yeah, Sunday, let's do that barbecue.